Next time you hit the lake, save your soft plastics. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these up. I'm going to show you how you can make your own soft plastic worms with, you got to have a mold, you can get that online, some soft plastic. This is optional, but I've got some plastic hardener because this is super soft plastic. It helps you to make different softness of plastic, essentially. So if you want robo worms soft, you just go straight soft plastic. But if you want, you know, like Zoom, you add a little bit of hardener. But since I'm going to be using some old Zoom worms that, by the way, are pretty dirty, I'm not going to actually use any of this. But first things first, I'm going to cut the worms up. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I just cut up probably 10 worms or so. I really didn't want to pour a whole bunch right now, but you can pour as much as you want. That's the good thing about this. You got to be really careful about what kind of worms you use, though. If you use something like a Cinco that's got a lot of salt in it, it's going to probably clump up quite a bit in the bottom. If you use something like the Trigger X that has that god-awful oil all over it, it's probably going to make a mess of your microwave. I'm going to shake my plastic up really good. And this is not an exact science. You can make an exact science once you find, you know, a certain combination that just seems to catch fish, but the whole purpose, to at least to me, of doing this is experiment, you know, find what works. I've found some worms that I've poured that were custom colors that weren't based off of old worms that really worked super well, especially on my home lake. But yeah, I mean, just have fun. I'm not going to add a whole lot of plastic to this, just enough to kind of thin this out a little bit, because if you don't, it's going to get real thick and it's going to turn real dark. I'll probably end up having to add a little bit of color. Again, the color you can buy any place like Barlow's is where I bought it, I believe. And the measuring glass I actually bought off of Amazon. For a microwave, what I highly suggest is either find a friend that has a really nasty, I mean, this one you can't see from this angle, but the inside of this is just god-awfully nasty. A buddy of mine gave this to me. Or just go to Goodwill. Sometimes you can find great deals on old microwaves and stuff like that there. But to start off, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go power level. We'll do, let's do 2 minutes, power level 5. But I'm not going to let it go for the full 2 minutes. I'm probably going to let it cook here probably about, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds on power level 5. Alright, that's 30 seconds. As you can see, it's not turning clear down here. Needs a little bit more time, so we're going to let it go for another minute. Now what I would say also is use your pot holders. Don't be dumb like me and just use your hands. So I'm going to stir this up a little bit. It's still not all the way done, but it's getting closer. See that goopy mess in there? It's great. And I'm just using a screwdriver. I've heard a lot of guys say use wood because you don't want to break the Pyrex, and they're probably right. I'm going to start this one off at 1 minute on full power now, just to speed up this process. The most important thing here is to get a nice clear consistency that's going to be fluid enough and warm enough so that whenever you pour it into your mold, it's going to be nice and flush. You don't want any bubbles, you don't want any overflow, you just nice and flush with the top. Now I might have cooked this one just a little bit too long, but I think it'll be okay. Another thing to note is ventilation. You want to make sure you've got good ventilation, because this stuff is toxic. So when you pour, you just want a steady pour. I like to go back, and then I'll go back like this. Alright, so I'm going to set this aside. And you need to let this cool for about 2 minutes. Okay, after a few minutes and they've had some time to cool, you basically just want to take them out and put them in a water bath. And then once that's done, you can put them out on a towel to dry.